the lake was not meant only for electricity, and I think DRA talked about that. It was meant to do a whole lot more for us. But 68 years on, we haven't really achieved all the others beyond the electricity. So the idea now is we need to unlock that potential that has been latent for so long. So the first thing for us was to demarcate, because we are talking about the Volta Economic Corridor. Everybody will ask, what is the Volta Economic Corridor? You can say, well, it is the area bordering the lake and its tributaries, but that's still very vague. So the first step we took was to actually go ahead and identify the borders of what the Volta Economic Corridor is. Significantly, in doing everything that we do, we think about the future. How do we make this future-proof? And today, one of the things about being future-proof is actually looking at the climate impact. And just to give you an example, today the European Union has something that they now call CBAM, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, which basically is they are starting to look at the carbon footprint of all the things that they are importing. And so very soon it might get to a time where the things that we export to those markets, if we haven't thought about the carbon footprint of those, you produce all the things that you want to make, and you can't access those markets. So it's important we start thinking about this. And it was also important for us to think about how we can also tap into all the climate funding that's available. So we talked about designating the Volta Economic Corridor as a net zero corridor. But we also recognize that we are a developing country, and achieving net zero is a really difficult task. So we can't have the whole place be a net zero. And so there are 18 districts that we've designated as a net zero corridor. So those 18 districts are here. You have Resort whereby you have Suleiman, but it's those that are immediately next to the lake. Then there are 45 districts that are in the extended. So overall, it's 75 districts. So 18 of the 75 are in the net zero corridor. Then 45 of them are in the core. The core corridor includes a net zero corridor. And then you have 75, which then constitutes the extended corridor. Then so we have 75 districts more being in the Volta area. The next step from here is to build the master plan. And we've actually been in discussion with a number of organizations to look at how we build the master plan for all of this, because we need to have the vision, and the vision clearly communicated. The assurance, though, is that we are going to ensure that we do this also with Ghanaian expertise. So we will borrow foreign expertise in the areas that we don't have the expertise here, but we want to ensure that whatever we do, we get Ghanaian expertise involved, and then we transfer knowledge also to Ghanaian experts to be able to do that. So you actually see the regions so the corridor actually starts from Tema all the way to Akosombo, then up north all the way to Bupe, Yape, then you have Tamale, and there are parts of the northeast, upper east. There's parts in Bono, Ashanti region, Bono East, Eastern region, and Boti region, Water North, half of some parts falling within the demarcated corridor. The vision for us. So the first thing is a transportation, because the transportation opens it up, and we have the business case today to actually support the transportation. The first step for us is looking at the Mpakadan port, Akosombo port, and then the Bupe and Yape port. The Bupe port and the Mpakadan port will be the main ports, and you have the Akosombo port also for transporting oil. And once you open it up, you have several other ports over there that support in people crossing and also supporting moving things down to the. So that's the first thing. So you have the railway from Tema to Mpakadan. You have water transport all the way to Bupe. And over time, we need to look at how we also connect from Bupe to the Sahel River. So we are looking long-term railway to connect Bupe all the way to Pada, so that you connect into the Burkina Faso and into the Sahel region. And of course, you also have the air cargo hub in Tamale that is part of that transportation architecture. Then you have the parks, because the thing for us is to develop this into a productive hub, right? So the transportation opens it up, because today when you talk to people about why you don't have a lot of projects going into the area, the thing they really tell you is about how do you evacuate what's there, and it's expensive to build the roads. Once the transportation is live, the evacuation becomes a lot easier. And now that is no more an excuse to a project. So there are a number of projects. The key ones that we are looking at developing right now, we have the Volta Agro-Industrial Park, the Singa, and that's in the Volta region, the Singa Integrated Agro Park, the Esuchare Industrial Park, the Kumasi Machinery and Technology Park, which feeds into the Volta Economic Corridor because it produces the kind of machinery that we need, the Kwewu Food and Beverage Industrial Park, the Integrated Cassava Value Chain Projects, which spans Central Region, Eastern Region, and the Savannah Region, the North Shore Light Industrial Park, and of course, you have the Volta Lake transport system. There are a few others that are not yet. So there's a Kabomule oil farm park that you don't see. So essentially, what you see is that once you have the transportation, then we are providing the case to ensure that we are building the industries, the farms, to produce the things that we require as a country, to make us become a lot more self-sufficient. So, yes, what it means for Ghana, a larger industrial base with more value added at home, jobs and stronger value chains, especially across the north and also the eastern side of Ghana, actually. So the northern part, the eastern side of Ghana, higher exports and a competitive gateway for landlocked Sahel. It makes Ghana's exports a lot more competitive for the Burkinabe, the Malians to actually move it. So it becomes something that provides revenue for us, provides jobs for our people, but importantly, with this also makes our roads safer, because you don't have all those big trucks on the road all the way. And of course, lower transport and energy costs that make our production competitive. Because one of the things that we came across when we were doing the analysis in the lead up to writing the program was the fact that part of the reason why we are not able to compete effectively or export into other markets is because our supply chain and value chain systems are very inefficient. This helps to lower the costs, make it a lot more efficient so that we are competitive. And if we are competitive against in the export market, then we'll be competitive at home. So we'll be using a lot more of our own. So that's the vision, and that's the vision that we are hoping the negotiation that we start today actually. Thank you very much.